Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, we're going to be painting some silver bells, and I'll show you a little trick for making metallics out of anything. So let's get started. A little shorter intro now. I like that. Got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, buddy.
He's manning chat tonight, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, I'm trying to move that up. I realized I wasn't showing my whole canvas. I changed out my canvas to a little bit larger canvas so that we can use bigger brush strokes and kind of get a more impressionist style here. So this is a 12 by 16 inch canvas. Nice vertical layout here, so we'll have plenty of room to work. We'll want a large-ish brush. I don't think I'm going to go with that large, actually. I think I'm going to get kind of a little bit, maybe about an inch wide brush here. And we'll go ahead and do our background while we're talking here. I'm just going to jump right in. But if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those. I am spraying my canvas with a spray bottle, just plain water. You can use fancy distilled water if you've got, you know, you live in an area with a lot of minerals in your water. You may want a filtered water. I do put filtered water, you know, from the refrigerator filter, but nothing fancy. All right, so I've sprayed this with water. That'll just help open the pores of the canvas. And I'm gonna get some water on my brush. And let me go over my colors really quick. I've got burnt umber, or I'm sorry, carbon black, way too much. You don't need that much. It came out too fast and, you know, I can't get it back in, so we're going to deal with it. Carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, India yellow, cadmium yellow light. Then I've got some fluid paints here, green gold, sap green, and phthalo green blue shade. So kind of like a cobalt teal or something like that, if you've got it, or phthalo teal, turquoise would work too. Ultramarine blue, and then I went ahead and put out my phthalo green yellow shade in a heavy body, unbleached titanium, titanium white, gloss glazing liquid down here at the bottom. Okay, so let's get going here. And I'm just going to paint around and leave kind of a triangular shape or so, kind of in the middle for our silver bells, say that fast, to go. But for the background, I kind of want a beigey gray color, grayish, I guess we can call it. So I'm going to grab the unbleached titanium. And actually, this is one where you could probably squirt it straight onto the canvas. My dog is working on his bed back there, so don't mind him. The noises.
He's fluffing it up.
Yeah, he's fluffing his bed back there. Do we have dog cam for people to see the cuteness going on? I don't know if I can get it before he stops. What you doing, Fitzy? Yeah, he's like, okay. All right, so I'm just gonna swish that on. And really this is kind of one of those things that you could make this look like wood. You could do, you know, a pattern, whatever. The filter that I used on my photo, I kind of merged a couple photos. I went to Hobby Lobby and took some photos. It's a good way to get inspiration. Just gonna go to a store and kind of take some photos, get some inspiration. I don't copy the artwork, but you know, like from the art on the walls and stuff. But I do take photos of like bells and, you know, Christmas garland and things, like in this case the hanging garland and stuff is fair game. So we're gonna be using that tonight in our picture. I'm gonna get some yellow and add some yellow oxide here and just kind of keep layering. I'm not really blending anything necessarily. I'm just sort of grabbing colors and trying to lay them on fairly thickly so that I can move around. That water really helps too, because it does give us a little bit extra drying time because our canvas isn't completely dry and pulling all the moisture out of our brush. If you find that you're getting a lot of your paint color breaking up, where you can kind of see through to the canvas, you may want to add a little bit more water to your paint so that it soaks in a little bit more, especially on this first layer. The canvases can be real thirsty, and that can be frustrating because you can end up using more paint than you really need to if you just added a little bit of water to it. So watch for that. Go ahead and add a little bit more of that black, because why not? We've got so much of it. How's everybody doing tonight? They getting ready for
great.
Christmas?
Oh, they're excited about tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Good. Oh, it's Oak Island. He's excited, not because of this. I thought you pulled me in. You fooled me. All right,
No,
so there we go.
We're excited about this.
I'm going to get a little bit of Ultramarine Blue and some of my, it's Oak Island premiere night. So it's a big night for our family.
For at least one member.
Right. I, being the skeptic, will believe the gold when I see it. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, we've been watching Oak Island on Tuesday nights for years now. So
it's season
if
12.
You're new, sorry, you'll be hearing a lot about Oak Island on Tuesday nights.
In the next couple months, yeah.
Like it or not, sorry.
I think
we have a little bit of art and a lot of chatter about.
I think we should do an art retreat on the island
next
next summer.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be fun. All right, so the middle is left open, and I am going to grab some black, because why not? We have so much of it. We'll just continue using it, and maybe get some of that Sapp Green. Now, if you don't have Sapp Green, you can mix it. It is a mixture of yellow and phthalo green and black. So you can, just use your, let me see if I have the pigments there. PR 101 is red iron oxide, which is similar to burnt sienna. PG 36 phthalo green. PY 150 is alizarin crimson. No, what is it called? Nickel azo yellow. That's right. And then PBK 7 is black. So so basically green, black, and yellow, and maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. To get a Sapp Green, and we're just going to use it because it's convenient. It's already mixed for us, and I know that this is the color that I'm seeing in my pine, so it's a good pine color, and especially for the background. So I'm going to kind of use it and just flick it out. To get this kind of flicking motion, you just kind of hold your brush in one place and pivot it out. So I'm not pulling the brush down, I'm just like using it like a what is that, lever, kind of, like a fulcrum, just flicking out and kind of getting that fuzzy. And this is nice to do while this gray is wet, because then we can get kind of some soft edges on this. It'll look really pretty underneath our bells and along the edges of our composition here. I really probably want to go out a little bit more in a couple places, so like not have it perfectly, symmetrical. So that looks good. And let me get some black, and I'm going to go really dark in the middle here where all of the stuff kind of comes out, like the deepest part of it right there. That'll give us some really good contrast. Again, work quickly, just kind of flicking out and making sure I don't have any, it looks like a beard now, huh? Put a couple eyes up here, and we got a black Santa, black bearded Santa.
Yeah, like a pirate Santa.
Pirate Santa, I like it.
We'll give him an eye patch.
Exactly.
I think we got something going on here. Okay, we're
we should
pivoting.
do a whole series of Santas, and
we're
could
changing.
do firefighter Santa. I have seen that kind of thing in ornaments before.
We're changing tonight's show.
We're changing what?
Tonight's show. Pivoting to Pirate Santa.
Pirate Santa. Oh, jeez. Okay, just kind of flicking out. I don't want too much because I am going to put other colors back here, but this will give us kind of a good base for working over. I don't have to come out too far with it though, because we'll put other greenery and things out. So get some more of that Sapp Green. I just want to make sure that I'm covering all of my background though, so I have no open areas. I've seen a couple people painted our poinsettias from last week, so that's exciting to see. Really glad that you guys liked that one. It was really fun to paint. I created an ornament on my Teespring store, so there should be a link down in the description if anybody's interested in that, but it's a limited edition for just this year, 2024, little ceramic ornament with the poinsettia image on it. I did that today, so I'm going to order one for myself. I like to have ornaments, you know, I make ornaments every year usually, and last year I did that. I ordered ornaments that were with my painting, so I didn't have to paint them. I was being lazy. I mean, they're great painted, but it takes, who's got time, right? I don't. Unless I'm doing it for my classes. So, all right, so there we go. We've got, it doesn't look like much. We're going to get it there. Kind of Tina Turner from the back, maybe? I don't know. What does this look like to you guys? Let me know in the chat comments.
Yeah, Tina Turner or what was his name?
Mullet.
He was also from the 80s. God, what's his name? The rocker guy.
Bon Jovi?
No.
Twisted Sister?
I'll get there. No.
All right.
David Bowie.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's got a little David Bowie vibes, definitely. All right, so I'm using my Phthalo Green blue shade, and I added some burnt sienna just to tone it down. Usually your greens, unless they're like a pre-mixed green, they're going to be a little too bright, you know? So just adding in some of this gray from the background, some of the burnt sienna will help neutralize it, make it a little bit less party green and more normal green. Adding a little bit of blue too, just to make it a little bit more smoky blue. And that gray had the unbleached titanium and white. So if you don't have any of your gray background left, just add some white, just a little touch of white to this to get this color. Okay, so let's start creating our pine branches. So I've got one here, one kind of that spans this area, and then another big one right here. And I'm just going to kind of start in the middle. And I've switched to a 8 Filbert. And when you load your brush, make sure you press it flat. And that way you've got a nice straight edge. And that way we can do these needles of this pine branch. And these will grow off of this kind will grow off of one little branch coming in and then just kind of explode out. So they're all coming to one point. So we want these all to kind of angle in, and we can say like maybe they're all pointing to like right here. So it's helpful to have that point in mind when you're doing these leaves out, and that way they all kind of make sense. I mean, there can be multiple branches, but just when you do your branches, you need to have them going to a certain point. That way they make sense. All right, so do another one here, all going to kind of another little point. And you can see we're not seeing much of that black now in the background. Last week we talked about color and how to create color depth by using 3 values of your colors, so light, medium, and dark. So we'll put in this, we've got our dark down, and we're putting our medium in now, and then we'll put our light on top just to kind of add our final little details, and it'll really make these pop. All right, so there we go. Very simple. We're not gonna fuss over this one. It's gonna be very kind of painterly and fun. I want to keep it easy. I think the hardest part is probably gonna be maybe the pine cones, but I'm gonna try to simplify those even, so it's not too bad. Christmas time, I really like to keep my painting tutorials a little bit more simplified on YouTube, especially so that, because I know people like to paint them for gifts or do them with their families, you know, at Christmas time. So I don't like to go too complicated with them. I like to keep them a little bit more simplified than my other times a year. So adding white and adding just a little bit of the green, or the yellow, I mean, to my white mixture, so that my lightest value of green has just a little bit of warmth to it. If you don't do that, it tends to gray out your green. So if you don't add yellow to it when you add white, it will kind of make your white part look a little bit gray, which is fine in some times, but here we want it to be a little bit warmer. And this light value is pretty close to the value on the background, so I'm just going to keep it kind of in the middle. I'm not going to overlap the background with this because otherwise it just won't be visible. So that looks good enough. Right here I can tell like it's kind of disappeared, so I need to get some of my darker color and just put some of that back in. And that's only because I have so much paint down, it's lifting, you know, it's all kind of blending a little bit because nothing's dry quite yet, even from my background. It's starting to get there, but it's not quite there. Yeah.
You quite dry?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fine. I can work around it. Thank you.
I'll blow on it.
Yeah, I had somebody ask how you dried my canvas the other day in chat in the comments, and so I was like, yeah, blow dry.
Yep.
Blow
Just
dry.
a standard hair
Blow
dryer.
Standard hair dryer, nothing fancy. Okay, so there's going to be kind of some other things in this area, but down in here there's some more. And I mean, if I want these to be thinner, I could use a smaller brush. It just depends, you know. Using a bigger brush though will give us a little bit more of this kind of chunky painterly style. So kind of going for more of a simplified style with this. I don't want to get too fancy with it. Again, this makes it a little bit easier. You could even use a sponge brush this way, you know. So if you are doing this with, you know, with a group or something, you can get these lines with a sponge brush. You don't have to have a fancy brush to get these thinnish lines. You just use it on the edge, just like I'm doing here. And I mean, you know, it may not be quite as thin. I don't know if I have one handy. Little sponge brush. I'm just gonna see if I could get some lines with it. We'll see if I'm lying or not. You probably need a little bit more fluid paint if you're using a sponge brush. But yeah. Okay.
Can you move that side? Your extra. Thank you.
Use your words.
I was trying. I couldn't figure out. It's called a what? Like to buy a vowel?
Are you in art brain too?
Jeez Louise. Move that thing.
I'm the one that does that. That's
hand.
scary. Okay, so using some Ultramarine Blue, and I added some Sapp Green to this. It doesn't have to be, you know, these don't have to match, so we're just doing all kinds of different greens here. But you get the idea. You can use a sponge brush for some of this, not a lot of it, but you know, if in a pinch, like your details, you're going to need like your bells and stuff, you'll probably need a regular brush for those, but could do something with this. For many, many years, I had sponge brushes that I used for my base coats. I would do all my base coats, you know, with sponge brushes. They're fast and cheap. Two good things. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit more, less like a beard. Let's see. Now, I need to do, well, I guess I can go ahead and put this one in here. There's one here that's kind of lighter. And one thing you want to do is leave it dark, kind of where they're kind of coming in. So just kind of keep an eye on that when you do your light highlights, to just leave a little bit of that dark in there. And if you've covered it up, just come back in with your dark and kind of go back over that area so that you have them kind of disappearing down into the dark. That'll make them look a little bit more dimensional too. Okay, there we go. So we've got an area here for our bell, an area here for a bell, an area here, and then we'll have our pine cones coming out here and a few little other leafy things. I think we're good. Making good progress here. All right, so for our leaves, I think I'm going to go to a smaller brush, or a little bit smaller brush, and also a softer brush, because I want a little bit more control over the leaves. So let's go ahead and get some of the blue, the Ultramarine Blue, a little bit of the black, and a little bit of my Phthalo green blue shade. And then let's add white, very smoky teal. If I want to neutralize it a little bit more, I could add like burnt sienna to it. I think I like this color though. Let's test it and see. Yeah, we just want it a little bit different than what we've got going on. So I'm going to make kind of a just oval-ish, like eucalyptus leaves here.
This reminds me of your basics
What?
tutorial. This reminds me of your basics tutorial.
Yeah.
Where you're showing kind of these techniques.
Yes.
To do.
Yep. Yeah. We're going through. We did techniques this last week on Saturday. Went through blending and dry brushing and glazing and just basically everything that I use in my tutorials, all the basic lessons at least, or techniques at least. Yeah, so it was good. And then the week before that we went over, or the month before that we did brush strokes. So this may be the brush strokes one you're thinking of. Is that what you're thinking? Yeah. Yep.
It wasn't the blending one. It was last month's.
Yeah. Okay, so just adding a few of these leaves here, and I'm going to do the stems later, so just trying to leave room for the stems. This is something too where, if you've got like an area where you don't like your first layer there, you can always add, this on top. So maybe add one more over here. Okay, there we go. And okay, I think that'll do for now. Then let's add a little bit of white maybe a little bit of the unbleached titanium so that it's not so white. And I'm going to come in the middle and add a stem just very lightly. And then I'm running it through that wet paint to just brush off a little, very lightly touching. And it's just grabbing off a little bit of that color. And keep an eye on the direction your light's coming when you're doing this. So, want the kind of the tips of it to be a little bit lighter, where the light's hitting it. There we go. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to switch now to an angle brush. I feel like I'm using a lot of brushes, but it's just, I could have done all of this with the angle brush too. So I like all the the pine leaves and things, but the aspen brushes that I'm using here, the 12 Filbert and the 8 the 12 was the background one, and then the 8 was the one I did the greenery with. They are like a firmer bristle brush, and they really push the paint around, so it's nice to use especially when you're using heavy body acrylics there, and using them thickly like I did in the background. They really help push the paint around. So this is a Dakota's number 6. I'm switching to, and I'm going to use the green gold and some of the unbleached titanium. And then I'm going to just mix it in with the Sapp Green and some of these other greens here just to make kind of a mid-tone green. Just whatever's on your palette here. That green gold is phthalo green and yellow. So it's also got the nickel azo yellow, I think, and the PY150 is nickel azo yellow, PG36 being the phthalo green yellow shade, I think, and the PY175 I think is like a Hansa yellow light, maybe. I'm not really sure, but yellow green. It's just a lot of yellow though. Yellow was the number 1 color. All right, so let's go ahead and do these little smaller pine branches where I'm gonna kind of do out and then dab, dab, dab kind of toward the middle, and then kind of make sure I overlap a little bit so that the center ones that are coming straight at us also are in there. Dab, dab, dab. So these ones have a longer stem and there's multiple coming off it, as opposed to these ones that had them all coming off of one point here. These ones are coming off of at an angle off of the sides of it, which you've seen a pine branch, you know what they look like. I don't know why I'm explaining that, what do pine needles do.
Except maybe those in Hawaii. I don't know.
Maybe. All right, so for the tops, the very tips of them, I'm going to add the light color and just go back and forth and leave the darker kind of toward the middle and the sides. But make sure that I go in the middle and have some that are just either just dots or very, very lightly overlapped, so that that's the center part doesn't look like, you don't want a line with, let me do it on paper because I'm not explaining it very good.
I knew we needed sock puppets.
Sock puppet. This is where you need sock puppets?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we're doing this, right? But we don't want it to look like that. We want it to be three-dimensional, the ones that are coming up at us from the center will be kind of in between, but all we'll see is just little dabs. So when you're doing this, make sure you're doing a few that are short and in this center part. The outside parts can be out, and then also when we're doing them, if we do the outside parts really evenly spaced like this, it starts to look funky. So make sure you're overlapping in different directions. So doing like this where they all kind of come out. They are kind of pointing all out toward the top, but we're overlapping them in a way that they're crisscrossing. Much more natural looking than, you know, having it all lined up perfectly, evenly, and spaced out, you know, like that. All right. Okay. Much easier to say it or show it than say it. I'm a visual person anyway, so. All right, so here just kind of tapping in the center to get those ones that are kind of coming straight up out of this. Okay. Okay. And there's a couple of these in here. And you can do as many as you want. You know, this is your painting. So if you like these kind of pine needles, then do a bunch of them. All right, I'm going to do a few more over here, I think. Okay. And then there's some longer ones that are kind of whitish gray. So I'm going to kind of mix this gray blue with this colors just to create another green. And I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm going to tap it. So I'm going to tap and do a little needly arms this way. And just do these long, kind of feathery things happening out. And try to get the stems, you know, them all kind of pointing towards the stems. So kind of do your stem first maybe, and then tap out from that. Like that. Okay. And I'm going to go faster so that I'm not... I find like the faster that I go, the better, the more loose it looks than if I think too much about it. I'm going to tend to start to make it look weird.
Yeah, too man-made, geometric looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you do need to watch that you're not creating, you know, multiple like patterns, because you will kind of tend to do that, and I'll have to kind of catch myself doing patterns. So just kind of make sure you're not repeating the same brushstroke too much, but oops, mouse camera there. Yeah. And again, where it kind of comes in, I'm just going to kind of disappear it and try to maybe go a little bit darker down where it's going down into the center there. Or we'll have something overlapping that so we don't have to worry about where it ends. Fun just doing different random brush strokes here. Then I'm going to go back in with a little bit of white and tap in some white along the tips so that like they're frosted, sort of. Looks good. If we do any of this too dark, we can go back in later and kind of glaze it back. So I'm not worried about going too bright right now. I think we want this contrast, so it's nice to have layers, you know, of dark and light areas now. But if, you know, if it like you end and it just looks like it's stuck on there and everything else is dark, then we'll want to address it and make sure that we're making it look, like it goes. But I think so far we're doing good. All right, so we'll have some berries and we'll have our pine cones added in here, but let's go ahead and I'm gonna do more of these branches, but I want to do my pine cones before I finish my branches, and I need to do my bells before I do the rest of these that are coming here because they're going on top of the bells. I do want to add some more highlights to these because I didn't do a lot of highlights on this part, so I'm going to get some of my blue and my unbleached, or my Phthalo green blue shade and white, ultramarine blue, Phthalo blue green shade and white here, and that's a little bit too blue. Do some highlights here, just a few. Now that we've got this in, we can overlap that area, so I can go in with this color, maybe add another green and overlap right there. And we'll get some thinner lines too. When you do your thinnest lines, it's good to have or you do your lightest lines, I should say, it's good to have a thinner brush. So like that last little layer of branches, the first few layers can be kind of chunkier, but as we're doing these finished layers of branches, we may want to switch to a brush that's thinner so that we can get some more control and thinner lines. And see, just by putting some of this in kind of overlapping, it will help set back those so they don't look like they're pasted on. So I'll go ahead and get some of that pine color and just go ahead and put some of that in around right there. Just a little bit. I still do want to leave it pretty dark though. So we were going to talk about metallics. First thing I want to do though before I do that is to put my lines in here. So I'm going to get a small round brush and just some yellow oxide burnt sienna and some of that blue, ultramarine blue. If I have some of that gray, there we go. Just kind of a, whatever this color was, I don't know. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to match exactly, but I'm just gonna do some little branches here to give it a little stem. So make sure they have little stems coming off. If it doesn't show up, just do it darker or lighter until it does show up. So they don't have to be super obvious, but it's good to, that they have some stems. Okay, so it's looking really fun already, right? I love it. Really fun. I just got water all over it. I don't want to do that. All right, so for our metallic thing, the key to doing metallics with any color background is you're just going to match the color of what's around it. Your metallics are going to shine and they're going to pick up the colors of whatever is around them. And it just makes it, I mean, it's a no-brainer, but the color of the metal will also affect it. So in this case, this is silver. So we're going to start with kind of a gray, and then we're going to add our greens to it, and then we'll have our silver color. It's really easy. So if I was using gold, I would do the same exact thing. I would use like a warm yellow color, and then I would add my green to it to create my gold reflections and things. So we'll have that base gold color in some places, but most of it is going to be reflections of other things, and then we'll have white to give us our brightest highlights. But it's really fun and really simple once you kind of recognize that. You can pretty much do metallics in any color that you want, as long as you know what your background is going to be. So we're going to, let me see, what brush do I guess I can use this one. Go ahead and use this one. I do want to clean out my brushes that I've used for my background though pretty well here, just so that they don't have a ton of paint in them as they're sitting off to the side here. Make sure they don't dry out before, so every now and then I'm dipping them back in my paint to make sure that they stay wet, because there's paint trapped up in here and you don't want them to dry out fully with that paint in there. Otherwise you can ruin a brush real quick. Right, I think I want a flat brush for the bells, just because a lot of those, a lot of the reflections are kind of angular, and so I think a flat brush is going to work the best for us. So let's go ahead and switch to a 4 flat, or a 4 bright if you have it. 4 bright would be shorter than that, but just a flat edged brush. And let me draw out my bells, and that way I can kind of place them exactly where I want them to go. I got paint over here when I was doing something else, didn't I? Oh well. Let me see if I have any of that gray left. Oh, just enough, yay. Good. It's always good to have a little bit of your background color if you're like me and you're messy. I always seem to get paint in places I don't want it as I'm working. Okay. Again, if you've got this and you feel like you don't have any dark areas, you'll want to go back in and add some dark over the top, because you want kind of dark around where these bells are going to go. Since they're so light, that dark will help define them some. All right, so this first one, I'm going to just do a curved line, and these bells are different. I was looking at the picture and I was like noticing that this middle one has a line through it, and I'm like, oh, did the filter mess up the lines? But it didn't. It actually didn't have. They were all different. So all of these bells are a little bit different. So you can do them however you want. You know the bell shape, basically. There we go. So there's one, and we'll do a little ring and a rope coming up. And then there's another one tucked right here. And I'm making them bigger than they need to be, aren't I? I'm making them bigger than the picture. And then another one right here. So let's do it right here. Like that. And this one is more of like a can bell. It's like more straight and had that line through it. They all have a little bit of a line at the bottom, like squared off. That look good. And then we'll leave room for our pine cones here. Here, and here maybe. You could even do a bow if you wanted to. Bows are really hot right now in decorating, and well, I mean, I don't think they've ever gone out of style for Christmas especially, but was looking for a gift for my friend, and the lady at the store was like, bows are really hot right now. So I was like, okay, good to know. And then I started seeing them everywhere. They're in jewelry and all kinds of stuff right now. So kind of a new trend. If you're into trends, you can do a bow here maybe. I actually think a bow would be cute. But I like the pine cones, so I like painting pine cones too. So we'll keep the pine cones, because I don't have a bow reference photo right now, and I don't want to have to try to figure it out on my own. Okay, let me do this. Let me clean off my workspace here, because I got a lot of stuff. I do want to leave a little bit of this green because it's still wet, but everything else is pretty dried up, I think. Yeah, so I can't use any of it, so I'm just going to scrape it off. I might leave a little bit of that gray there because it was still sort of wet. Nice thing about having a glass palette is I can kind of just clean it off multiple times as I work. I'm going to have so much black left over. I'm going to have to paint a black canvas with that. I'll just use that leftover paint. That's something that, you know, if you're like me, you don't like to waste your paint, you can take your leftover paint and just do a background like this. And if you mix them all together, they're going to create like a brownish gray. So then you can just use it for your background. Of course, then you don't have that color if you want to. Yeah, if you mess it up, but you know, it's a good like starting point at least. Okay, so we've got our color. Let's go ahead and mix a gray, and I'm going to mix a lot of it just so that I have it to pull back in. So here's where this black will come in handy. We'll use our black. Normally I create my gray with ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I'm going to add just a little bit of burnt umber to this to warm it up. Oops, burnt sienna there. That's all right. That'll kind of create kind of a bronzy silver. We'll see what happens when I add white to it. I'm just going to add, I need more white. Add the white straight to it. Okay, yeah, oh, that's a pretty, actually really pretty warm silver. So adding that little touch of burnt sienna helped quite a bit. Black, it has carbon black, especially Carbon black, Mars black, they have like a blue undertone. If you add it to yellow, it turns green. So adding the warmer color, that warmer burnt sienna, kind of made a more of a neutral, burnt sienna and burnt umber, made a more neutral, warm gray here. And then I'm also going to add blue gray to it. So I will have like more blues in here. I want to have like couple different grays to work with, so I'll probably do it like a yellowish gray or yellow green kind of gray that will have the greens from the background in it, and then a blue gray, which will kind of mimic some of these but take it a little bit step further. And I did add a little bit of blue, the ultramarine blue, if you remember, to our background too. So just a little bit of a blue gray, and then the green gray, and then we have this kind of more neutral, warm, brownish gray. So here we'll have like, you know, 3 different grays to work with. All right, so I'm gonna leave that and take a little bit of it over here, and this is where I'll add my ultramarine blue. And I will need darker versions of these. Like I think I added a little bit too much white, so probably should have left a little bit of the white off, because now I just have mid-tone grays here. These are, you can see that it's kind of blending into my palette. So I will have to create a dark gray to use. And then let's go ahead and use some of the Sapp Green, I think, and some black, Sapp Green and black. And this will actually be good because this will be the closest, that dark area is usually kind of closer to the sides. So we'll use the Sapp Green, black, and a little bit of that Phthalo green blue shade here. And so now we've got a really dark black green. And I had a little bit of that gray still left, so that little bit of white is tinting it just slightly grayish, which is going to be probably just perfect because we don't want it so black that it disappears. We want it dark, probably in this range right here. If I hold my value card up, you can see I can see it through that hole there, but I can't see it at all there. So that's why I know that it's that value right there. And then against that one, you can see the dark. So we want it to be like right in here somewhere. All right. There we go. And then we'll obviously be adding more white. I do want to also create this blue-green color, blue-gray. So I want more of that. I think it was burnt sienna and Ultramarine Blue and the Phthalo Blue or Phthalo Green Blue shade here to create this color, and then white. Yeah. That's pretty. Yeah. Close. It's not exactly, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so there we go. So we've got a really pretty tealish gray. And I'm gonna scrape off what's left on here so I can use it all. And you notice that when I mix, I always scrape it off and then just kind of set it down and smush it down into one little area so that the thinner that I have this paint spread out, the faster that it'll dry out. So, and then I do want a little bit brighter greens, but I think I'll just pull into this when I do that. So we've got all the colors that we've already used basically in gray form. Blue gray, warm brownish gray, green gray, and kind of a teal gray. All right, so I'm going to start with this. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and use my blender. Now that I grabbed it out, I just realized that would probably work too. It's pretty much the same size and just a little bit more rounded tip. All right, so I'm going to start out with the color that I can just build out the shape. And this one's going to be behind, so I want to probably have some dark shadows here. But right now I just want to kind of cover this opaquely. And I don't have to do it all in that color. I can kind of grab some of these other colors to do. And down here, there's some of the dark colors. So let's go and do the dark at the bottom. Pick the width of a brush that will do that for you. And then let's go ahead and use this dark color and just kind of scrape it along the side here and at the top through that wet paint. Just kind of blending it a little bit, and we'll let that dry. Okay, let's get the next one. Maybe I'll get this kind of more bluish gray for this one. And they're going to overlap just a little bit right there. I think I'm going to make this a little shorter than I have it there, just so that the shape is different. Although I don't want the shape to be distracting that it's different, you know, like I don't want the first thing people to say was, well, that doesn't look like that one, you know. So, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty much, there's people in your life that'll do that. So maybe we'll just make them all the same. That way we don't have anybody that's been like, why are they different?
Technically.
Exactly. I can't say that story. I wish I could, but
No.
You all have
story.
people in your life that you know that will, you know,
Will correct you.
will correct you. Yep.
No matter what.
Mm-mm. Instead of saying that is beautiful, they'll be like, well, the angle on that is, or like, you know, I have all these free tutorials on here and they're just be like, you know, you should have painted that with a little bit more yellow at the end there. And I'm like, I can't do anything about it right now, so I'm sorry to offend you. It's like, I don't know what they want me to do. It's like, why would you even, you took time out of your day to tell me that. Okay. I'm like, what do you, yeah, thank you. You're trying to make me a better artist, I guess. That's okay. All right, so dark there. Yeah, but you know those. You know that. If you're an artist, you're going to come across that if you haven't already. it will happen many, many times. I'm going to move this one up, I think. Now that I have these drawn in, I know that I have a little bit more room up here to play with. So I'm going to make this one a little bit taller. And as I'm pulling my lines, I'm kind of pulling them downwards so that if I get any streaks that that will kind of go along with the shape that I'm building here. Okay, there we go. Looks good. Get that dark color. Kind of put it along the bottom, right here maybe. Cute. Yeah, I like it. I love this color scheme. Really pretty. Very modern feeling to me. I'm trying to work on my color schemes and try to make them more, you know, modern. You can get in a rut as an artist, and I've had to do this multiple times in my career where, you know, the decorating trends shift, and if you don't shift with you, you're into, you know, everything you make, it ends up being a little bit outdated looking. So I feel like I'm just trying to kind of look at what the colors are in decorating right now, and it's all these neutrals and grays and beiges and lots of greens and warm tones, warm colors. Not as much teal, which I love teal, but I mean there's still some teal, but it's starting to shift a little bit more to browns again. Neutrals are really hot this Christmas. All right, and I realized I don't really have any neutral Christmas stuff. I like color. So when I have a chance to paint Christmas, I always tend to go for color. So we're trying to go a little bit more neutral here. All right, so once this dries, we'll wipe off our chalk. I really want to wipe it off right now, but I can't. I'll just leave it. And we just need to let that dry really well. And I probably need to work on, you know, we'll kind of fix some of the issues that I'm seeing. But let's go ahead and get our pine cones started. So I'm going to get burnt umber and a little bit of black. And we'll kind of mark those in. So, and they're kind of the really needle shaped ones. They're very pointy. So I'm going to just pull across here and leave the edges a little bit bumpy, you know, and right at the tip kind of do a little bit more narrow, just like that. Maybe this one is way up here. Okay. Nice. Yeah, that'll work. They're obviously way too dark right now. We're going to add our highlights, but having this dark color will help give us a nice base for where they're going to go. And it also tells me that these are not quite dark enough in our dark spots. Like this is still too light. I'm going to need to use some of that dark in here to really make these more three-dimensional, the bells. It's really going to be hard to tell right now. I think I will let you take this and dry it really well for me, honey, because right now it's, let me think. I could do the berries. Let me do that. I'll do the berries, and then if it's still, I'm sorry, thank you. If it's still not working, I'll call on you to dry it.
Get up for nothing.
I know I did. I'm sorry.
That's a little too much exercise there.
False alarm. False alarm.
I was ready though.
You were ready. You're Johnny on the spot. You were on it. Okay. Gonna get a round brush. So this is a 2 round here. Let's go ahead and put in some of our berries. And I think I'm going to put some of the berries up here. There's not a lot going on up here, and I think I want to add a little bit more interest up there. So, and the berries are going to be that ultramarine blue color, which I'm out of. So let me put some more on my palette. How's everybody doing? Chat's being pretty quiet. No questions, huh?
There was a question here. Relating to your artwork.
Okay.
Do you want me to put it up
Sure,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
Do you do prints of your work? And if so, do you print them yourself, and what printer? My daughter is an artist and we are thinking of printing prints. I do not do prints myself just because I absolutely hate shipping. Like, it is like the worst. So I don't.
Worse than editing videos?
Almost. It's close. It's a close second. So I don't do prints myself. But there are a lot of really good, there's a lot of really good information. What I would do is go and look on Etsy and see what other artists are doing. A lot of artists I know use Epson printers. There's really good ones that are artist quality, and the paper really matters and the ink matters. So if you're going to print your own, that's another thing. You know, I didn't want to invest in that myself. It's not something that I really have time for either. But if you've got a good idea that's, you know, going to sell, and I just do print on demand. Long story. I do prints on demand. Some. I don't do very many though. I don't think I have any right now up for sale. Sometimes Teespring, I'll have prints on my Teespring store, but yeah, there is a way to link your Etsy store to a drop shipper. So there's videos about it though. There's tons of videos out there about all of that on YouTube. So I would just kind of find an artist that's being successful at it and see if they have any information out there about what they do, because that there's a lot of people that will, you know, maybe give you bad information out there too, so you're gonna have to know the source. Okay, we're getting close here, so I'm gonna let that dry just a little bit longer, and then while it's drying I'm gonna put in some berries. So I'm gonna use the ultramarine blue, and then this, I don't want this to dry out, so I'm gonna spray this with water while I'm doing this. I'm gonna get ultramarine blue. Now ultramarine blue is transparent, so I need to make it a little bit more opaque. So I'm going to have to add just a little bit of white to it. I don't want to add so much white that it's going to go too light. So it's kind of a fine line there. The carbon black is also opaque, so I'm adding a little bit of that. I'm making a blue-gray. All right, so I'm going to just do some berries here. Blueberries, or like cedar berries, I guess. Cedar berries are this color. And they won't show up very much at first, but we'll get them there. I'm going to kind of build out a little bit in my dead space here. And then I think I'll put a few up here. Just doing round little shapes here, nothing really fancy. And when you're doing this, also kind of keep an eye on your spacing. So I'm not repeating my patterns too much, looking at over here. So trying to move the eye around the canvas a little bit so that I'm getting good randomness in my spacing. Okay, that looks good. We're almost ready to wipe off my thing there. I'm going to get a little bit more blue and now a little bit more of that white. I'm going to go back in here and add some highlights. Again, kind of find that upper area there and add the highlight toward the upper side and then kind of tap it to bring it down. I'm kind of mostly covering almost all of it here, honestly, because a lot of this was disappearing against the background. So, which tells me my initial color was maybe a little too dark. But I can go ahead and go in here with this opaque lighter blue, and then I can add my dark back in places. Fitzy escaped.
He's back in.
Oh, he's back in.
He brought baby.
Oh.
Him and baby are in the bed there.
We thought the baby, his baby, he's got a little, our dog had a baby toy baby dog. And he is like any well-loved 4-year-old toy on its last legs. And we thought he was lost, so I went ahead and bought a replacement the other night, and then I found baby again. But he takes baby out every morning with him to go potty, and then at night he gets baby and he brings him back in. Where's baby?
It's right there in the back. Can you see that?
Laying with him. Yeah. Yeah. But baby doesn't get torn up. Baby kind of gets played with a little bit, but not like the other toys. He's got lots of other toys that get chewed up and destroyed, but baby is special. It's really cute. Yeah, I think he thinks he's a real dog. It's pretty adorable. All right, looks good. And we'll add highlights, but I really just need to let those berries dry completely before I try to add highlights. But let's go ahead, and all of this is dry, so let's go ahead and wipe down our background. I'm just going to get a wet towel and wipe off all my chalk marks now. Now that we've got everything on here pretty much where we want it to go, and this will help us see what we've got left, how we did. Paint around my berries there. Okay. Nice. Oops. There we go. Oops. Oh, goodness. All right. See, this is it. I know. I did. I dropped a big old drop of it on there too. Okay. Throw that away before I use it and touch it on something important. Yeah, and then at this point we can kind of see where everything's at and what, you know, what we want to, if we want to add any more greenery, which I'll probably add some greenery down here because I tucked this farther up than I realized. So I'm definitely gonna want to add some green down here. So let me go ahead and do that before I finish my bell, because it'll be easier to do it now than when the bell is completely finished, because I don't want it to be necessarily on top of the bell. I want it to be kind of tucked behind. So again, some of that Sapp Green and Ultramarine Blue mixture here, which I just totally destroyed my berry mixture there. I didn't think about that. But there we go. So some of that in there. Some of this. See, this is all now going to be visible because I moved that pine cone over. So just adding a little bit more green in here. Okay, there we go. And we'll be adding some of this down in here too, but it'll go over the top of all this. So I think that's good for now. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing okay. Let's get our bells done. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with this 4 flat. So I get the angular shapes, and let's go ahead and add some white to these grays that I have. So I just added some white to that kind of blue gray here. I'm gonna figure out where my highlights are on this. Now in my picture, I was standing right here, so I was creating a dark shadow right here, which I don't really want in the middle of my bell. I feel like it's gonna look better if my highlight is sort of in the middle and my darker areas are on the sides. It's just gonna make it look more rounded just in general. So I'm gonna do my highlight kind of just a little bit off to this side on my bells. And so I'm gonna kind of follow the shape of the bell there and just put my first little highlight at the top, kind of curved a little bit right here, and then sort of work it down here.
Your biggest fan has joined.
Noah, what are you doing?
Apparently she's
Hello, Noah.
been sassy tonight.
Oh, really? She's being sassy? My, it's my granddaughter. She's the cutest.
You'll have to read the chat after the show.
Oh, no. What has she been doing? It's okay. I don't have to know right now. I'll get distracted. Okay. I'm going to set my brush off to the side here, and I'm going to leave a little bit of the black at the top here, and I'm just going to kind of drag it across right here. Like that. And then pretty much going to leave this dark. And as I'm dragging it, I'm just kind of like lifting it right at the end so that it's kind of tapering off. And then I'm going to get some of the green that I was just using, and we're going to use that as some of our shadows here. Maybe get some of that green. Maybe some Sapp Green and the Phthalo green, mixing it with the gray. And so I have a lot of green here. But see how that looks, you know, it's going to blend in. Maybe we can use it kind of a little bit on the dark areas right there. Nice. Okay, so let's use some of this dark black color that's up here, and I'm going to just run it along that line there and from the dark side of the bell in, and then put some of the streaks along the side here with some dark. Okay, and if this side's not dark enough, we can use maybe a little bit of this gray, green, gray Yeah, like greenish, because the green is closest to the edge, right? So pick up some gray, green, and some of our gray, and some green, and just kind of run it along the edge there to make that look like it's curving a little bit. Very lightly. Okay, I don't think I'm going to do much more than this. We'll add some really bright white highlights, but that's about all I'm going to do. I might add a little bit of that blue-gray in there because there's some blue. I feel like this is almost not blue enough, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it, a little bit more white. And we're going to get to see Noah this weekend. I'm excited. I'm going to get to go up there and see her. It's our son Spencer's going to be 23, so I'm going to go up for his birthday. Which he lives with us, so it's not like, you know, we have to go up there to see him, but we're going to be with the rest of the family. It's not his child. It's our oldest son's child. Just to make that clear. Not that I guess we were 20 in our 20s when we had our kids, so not out of the realm of the possibility. He seems so young, and I'm like, yeah, I had 2 kids by the time I was his age. So, oh my gosh.
What were we thinking?
I don't know.
Oh, I know. Because when we were 50s, we're empty nesters.
That's right. That's right.
And have money.
Oh yeah, baby. We can go travel. No kids. So nice. No, not. I miss my boys so bad.
Oh yeah,
Spencer's about to graduate.
Nathan's still here. Yeah, we miss him so much.
No. It's going to be a hard year next year when Spencer's gone. If he ever moves out. All right, white. And I'm going pretty light with this. So I want a really white. You can see how much lighter it is than what I have here. And I'm going to use this on my bells. The bells that I took the photo of had like little berries on them that were red. I'm not going to do the red berries. I want to keep this blue-green. But you could do red berries if you want to add a little pop of red. It's totally fine. I'm just going to kind of set it down and very lightly kind of dry brush here. Some highlights right there. Maybe another little one right there. Okay, so at the top I want to curve it just slightly so that it mimics that outer shape there. And just using the shape of that brush, it's a number 4, so it's about a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, maybe a 3/8 inch size. Let's do a little bit of line right at the top of our, right below the shadow there, and then do another highlight kind of across to pull it forward. Leaving a little bit of dark along the outer edges just so that it kind of looks like it's curved. If you don't have a little bit of a dark right there, it looks like it's flat. So you have to have it kind of curving back a little bit. That one I'm not worried about because it's tucked behind there, so it can just be turned black. But these ones where you can see it, I want to maybe curve right at the top so that it curves back in. All right, that looks good. I like it. I like it. I'm going to use the round brush and get some of this kind of mid gray and maybe a little bit of my light gray and just do our little bell circle where it's attached. Little ring. I should have done this when I was doing the original, but get the dark here and add some of that over it. just to kind of blend it out. And then get my lightest color and just add just a little highlight to one side maybe. Okay, here we go. Then we're going to use our Unbleached Titanium and some burnt umber and yellow oxide just to create kind of a rope color, and dab on some rope. Like that. And then let's use this same color. We'll flatten out my brush here and have that 2 round here. Might start out with kind of a darker mid-tone, so just like a couple shades darker or lighter than the background brown here. And I'm going to just do the highlights on this and leave the dark. So the shape is like a triangle almost. At the very tip, there's just like little tiny dabs. And they go on kind of like bricks. So you've got one here, and then another one here and here. And then in between, you're going to do another one in the gap there, and so on. And as we go up, they're going to get bigger and cover more space. I'm trying to keep, I'm just doing kind of like C strokes, so trying to keep that bottom edge a little bit flat. And then as they get up here, they go almost straight. So really flatten that out so that I'm getting kind of straight lines. Like this one I probably did a little too big, but it's fine. When I highlight it, I can kind of fix it. So let's do this one here. So dab, around a few little dabs, and then like literally just little tiny C-shaped brush strokes that overlap. Pine cones are super fun to paint. And again, we're kind of stylizing them a little bit. These don't have to look perfect. There we go. I kind of cleaned out my brush. It had too much paint in it there. It was kind of misshapen. So that helped. All right, do one last one here. Dabbing, a couple little, the tiny baby ones in between. I might make that one a little bit wider. Okay. Fun, huh? And then we'll just do the same thing with the hot lighter color. So our third value, and go at the tip of the ones we've already done. So we're just going to go at the very tip and do smaller lines. So leaving that darker bit and just dragging it so that it just kind of dry brushing some texture on the tips of these. And then as they go back in there, I'm not going to worry about doing those ones. But in here, I want to make sure they're nice and bright. The brighter we do, the more they're going to stand out. So the ones we want to kind of pull forward, we want to do a little bit brighter. Okay. And nothing in nature is perfect, so I don't get super caught up in having, you know, them be exactly symmetrical or anything like that. As long as we're getting the right, you know, anatomy and overlapping the pieces kind of correctly, we're gonna, it looks like a pine cone to me, you know, so we don't have to be super stressed out about it. In fact, I find that I like it better if it's a little bit messy, just a little bit, you know. And this is where you can kind of clean up if you kind of made a mistake in the first little bit, like right in here. I kind of got my overlapping off, so I'm just gonna do them correctly and sort of fix it. Okay. Cute. Let's put some highlights on our berries and give them some stems. And then finish our last little bits of greenery and we'll be done. Alright, so getting the ultramarine blue and my white here, and I'm going to wipe most of it off. I've got just a little bit in here. I just want to kind of dry brush some highlights on here. So tap it on and just kind of brush through it so that it goes on kind of softly, almost like scumbling. We talked about scumbling in our video on Saturday, so this is scumbling, putting on a lighter color over the top of an opaque white, lighter color over the top of a darker color. Okay. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, that's nice. So 3 values, see? It's just that easy, using 3, dark, medium, and light. And you get this dimensionality now. I'm not going all the way to the corner of the berry again. If I go to the edge, it's going to make it look sharp and drop off. If I keep it towards the middle or top, you know, third, it's going to round out. So I'm leaving a little bit of dark around the outside and a little bit more dark at the bottom, just so that I have a source of light. Dab, dab, and then kind of swish on either side to kind of round it off. Dab, 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 swish. Kind of dab where you want the lightest color to go, and then sort of swish it out on the other bottom and sides so that it kind of fades out. Okay, there we go. That's good. Let's go ahead and give it some stems. Let's do like a dark, almost, this is where I would almost do a purple, but I'll do some blue with my burnt sienna maybe, kind of a burnt sienna-ish. I didn't use my yellow at all. Some white. Let's see if this burnt sienna is dark enough to be able to see. So burnt sienna, a little bit of white, a little bit of blue. that's good. Yeah, that works. You know, the berries like to kind of mingle, so you can kind of have the stems sort of attached to one another. I think maybe this one, I should have had this one go to that one, but that's all right. I'm going to put some of this dark color on my rope too, and I want my rope to disappear behind my berries, or my pine cones there, so I'm going to darken up that little bit right there so that they disappear. Don't know why I always do the bottom part first and then I get my hand in it. Always. You'd think I've been painting for 30-something years I would do it the right way, but no.
Yeah, and like you did the middle pine cone first.
The what?
You did the middle pine cone first, and then had hover to do the left one.
Exactly, yeah. I know, it's fine. All right, get in some black and burnt umber. I'm just going to darken up this rope there. And I'm going to get some of that pine cone color and put it over the top right here just so that it really covers that up, obviously. I can give my rope a couple of highlights with my unbleached titanium, but yeah, there we go. All right, and then yeah, you can, like at the very end, if you want to still add a little bit of highlight to your pine cone, you can come back in and just do like a little light with a really bright bit, just maybe in the middle parts of it to really make it, you can see the parts where I've done it and haven't done it on that one, you know, or it just really makes it come forward. Okay. I'm really pressing my brush flat here too so I can get some thin lines. All right. And then let's go ahead and put some of this brown from our pine cones in our bells because it would show up. So I'm going to just wipe my brush out and put a little bit of the brown maybe at the top there. Like maybe there's a little bit of a reflection of that pine cone up there. And then get a little bit of my darker color and whoop, I got into the lighter color there as I picked it up. My darker green, and just right in here on this one. Is that just that light? No, it's not. Let's try this again. Okay, right here where these two overlap, I want a darker shadow on this one underneath. So I'm going to put that darker color there and just kind of pull it down. Okay, and then there will be like a little bit of a highlight from this though. So there's this, so maybe I'll have like a little bit of a highlight of that right there. And then same thing here, there might be a little highlight from this bell over here on this one. And this one. Okay. Let's do just a little bit of this green here, which was, I guess, this green gold color, right? White. Let's let it kind of disappear in there. This is where we've seen now what we've got, and we can kind of make little tiny adjustments and add a few little bits there. Okay. And let's go over the top of our pine cones here just a little bit to settle them in. All right, I'm pretty happy with that, I think. I think it looks good. Kind of fun, Christmassy. Hope you try it. But, definitely, I think.
So you're not painting your logo?
No.
Oh, okay.
Can if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just put a little bit of that in there. Maybe it's reflecting. Okay. I think I went a little bit too light right there, so I'm going to go a little bit darker.
So at this point in the painting, what are you looking?
I'm looking at my values, and I'm wanting to make sure that I got things dark enough where I need them dark, and that I got them light enough, and that everything has form, everything makes sense, everything has, good movement. My color placement is good. Everything looks pretty good. Like right here, because I came over the top of that, I kind of lost that edge of that bell. So I'm going to come back in and kind of correct that, because I don't think I like that disappearing the way it was. And so also looking at anything that kind of stands out, like stand back, walk away from it, come back to it. And anything that like you really draws the eye first might be a problem. It might not. It might just be, your focal point, and that's good. But if there's anything that like feels wrong or distracting, that's, what I'll look at. So I think that I could probably give my eucalyptus leaves, they look a little bit flat. They are kind of flat though. They don't catch a lot of light. But I think I could give them maybe just a little bit of a boost. So I think I might add a little bit brighter highlight on them. Just get my blue-gray here and some white. And go quite a bit lighter than I have it. We'll see. Also kind of add that stem back in. I could make them darker too. Just a little bit darker in places. So I could add some of the gray from my bell in on some of them and kind of darken it up. And that can help too, just to kind of add a color in a couple other places. So maybe these are getting a little gray, and that will unify the painting, because now see, look at the ones that I did and the ones that I haven't done. Those kind of feel a little bit more integrated to me. Not a lot of color here. Sometimes I'll do this, like if I add like blue or something, or a color where I only have it in one place on one item, and then I want to make it feel more, unified, then I will take that color and add it in a couple other places. That's maybe like a little bit unexpected. Tint other things with it. I could even add a little bit of this yellow to my eucalyptus color and add it on a couple of them. I'm getting a little too matchy-matchy with the way I'm doing those highlights, so I just want to kind of break that up a little bit so that there's different shapes. But this is all just kind of individual at this point. You know, it's kind of what you want them to look like. And right here, I'm just kind of giving these a little bit more form by adding these highlights and shadows and things, the gray and the light, just to play with the shape. Yeah, so they look a little bit more finished to me, you know.
So does
Again,
this type of decoration have a name? I'm calling it kind of like a wreath, but I know a wreath is round, so
it's a garland.
a garland.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's like a garland, I think.
Like Julie?
Like Julie, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right, let's splatter it. I want some splatters. This will lend itself nicely to this painting, and then we'll be done, and we'll be in time for Oak Island and everything. So,
They're awesome.
thank you. I worked hard to get it done in time. One other thing that I could do is, if that's dry there, you could go in and glaze a little bit of darker color. So maybe some dark sap green, or maybe a little bit of both sap green and burnt sap green and phthalo green. Just a darker green, and go in and tint over the center there where they kind of come in, right by the, or anything that's maybe supposed to be underneath something else or overlapped by something. So like this area where the bells come out, maybe it's really dark right there on those branches, and then it just gives depth to the painting. And then I can go even darker right there, just in that one little bit right there in the center. Okay, and then I can come back in with my lighter color. So this is all about that building depth, right? And then add that lighter color in, but leave some of that dark in there, and that way now we've got that. And that's only if you lost that area there, but I had lost my light. This was all kind of light in there, and so it just looked kind of weird to me. So I think you could add more of the different colored branches too if you wanted, but I think we're good. I'm going to stop there, otherwise I just can keep messing with it. I'm going to get my light blue gray. This is the color I was using to highlight my eucalyptus, and I'm just going to splatter around it, and a little bit on my bells too. Some people don't like splatters. I do, so it's a personal choice. If you want them, add them. If you don't like them, then leave them off. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But I think it kind of adds a little fun little variety to them. All right, that's it. We're done. I like how these turned out. That was fun. And if you want them a little bit more shiny, you can add more of the lighter tones to it. I think I did go a little bit dark, and maybe here looking at it, I might just add just a little bit of really bright white right at the very end here. So let me get my white out with my flat again, and just do a couple of like really white highlights just using the edge of that brush. There we go. Nice. Now they look shinier. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yeah, that's better. It gives a little bit more dimension. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you try it. Share it with me on my social media if you do. I'd really love to see your versions of these paintings. I've got links down in the description to buy art supplies and where to share your paintings with me and how to become a patron if you want to support our channel and help keep these videos free for everybody. We've got tons of really fun stuff going on with Patreon that we don't do anywhere else. Lots of bonus videos. We show you the one we finished just recently with our $15 tier. Right there. That was 5 weeks and several hours. It was almost, there was a couple in there that we did over 3 hours on it, and on Thursdays. We usually work about an hour and a half to 2 hours, but I wanted to get it done in 5 weeks. So this was probably closer to a 6 or 7 week project, but lots of fun detail, things that we don't have time to do, you know, on YouTube because I mean, it takes a long time to get a painting this detailed. So these and more, you can look on my website, thankfulart.com, to see the other challenge videos are the $15 tier, bonus videos are the $5 tier, and with the $5 tier and the upper one, but $5 tier you also get traceables. So if you're interested in a traceable of today's thing, so you don't want to have to draw the bells yourself or whatever, I'll have a traceable up tomorrow. I usually use my finished painting and do a traceable of it and have it ready so you can have an outline to start from, and makes it a lot easier and fun for beginner painters to have kind of a, you know, starting point. So all right, thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed it, and leave a like, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.